Can you dig it? Welcome to IDP Nation's spin-off podcast talking about college IDP and Debbie IDP prospects. We are your hosts, Dan Cook, Darrell Winstead, and Eric Harroff. We are the Debbie IDP grind. Can you dig it?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Another episode of the Debbie IDP Grind. I got my co-host Darrell. Darrell, how you doing? Can't hear you, Darrell. There, now I can hear you.
Okay, must be a delay or something.
So how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Watching a little college football. Taking notes. Working on my rankings. All that good stuff.
You watching UNC and Florida State or Georgia and Bama?
Recording Georgia and Bama. I am watching Florida State absolutely take North Carolina to the woodshed right now.
I am shocked by that right now.
Yeah, this ain't even. It's not even as close as the score says it is, and that's not close.
I love it. I love it. Especially number 5. That's even better. So it's nice to see Florida State maybe starting to work some things back up and get back to playing some football.
Yeah, it's they've put on a show tonight so far, so we'll see if they can keep that going and how they do. So
yeah, I got Georgia and Alabama on the screen here, and it's a pretty good game. Back and forth both ways.
You were saying it was a pretty good game. Yeah, I can't wait to get to watch it here in a little while when we get done. So,
well, first, I think the first minute there was 2 interceptions, one by each team. Georgia,
oh wow,
Georgia picked off Jones, and then Bama picked off Bennett. So it was kind of back and forth there to start it off. But so far so good. Just started the third quarter, so hopefully the rest of the game just holds the way it is, and Georgia can beat Alabama.
No, we'll pull for Alabama to beat Georgia. So. Anyway, so we'll get started here with our show today. News and notes. Syracuse safety Andre Cisco has opted out of the season and will prepare for the 2021 draft. He hadn't played this season, which we knew. I've found out that this week that he had a little accident with a teammate. They ran into each other, and he had a lower body injury, so that's why he hadn't played, and I guess he's just decided to shut down and get ready for the draft. So that's why we hadn't seen him.
I watched bits and pieces of that Syracuse game today, and they miss him a lot back there. Bet. Oh, man.
Yeah, I watched
Liberty.
I watched a couple of weeks ago, and I saw the same thing, so yeah.
Surely going to miss him.
Yep. Yeah, they're going to miss him. Old Dominion defensive end in transfer portal was among the nation's leaders in tackles for loss last year. He had 19, so be interesting to see where he goes. Could be a big piece for somebody needing a defensive end. They could probably sign him right away, or not sign him, but get him transferred in right away and help their defense. UCF safety Richie Grant was expected to play today versus Memphis. We kind of talked about the game a little bit there before we got on. I've got that one recorded too. Free safety Joey Blunt was expected to play this week against Wake Forest. So that's 2 of the bigger names in college that's expected to return this week. And then Florida State strong safety Hamza Nasruddin is getting closer to returning from that ACL. So maybe another week or so. I can't wait to see him get back on the field. That'll be big for them.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, getting back into playing shape.
Yeah, just imagine if they had him tonight, they'd probably be pitching a shutout.
Yeah, they're playing lights out tonight. Maybe just a little sparked them up.
Yeah, I'm shocked at this score. It's not even close. But anyway, we'll that's kind of it for the news and notes. Some injuries and transfer stuff. So we'll get to our main event games we've watched. Some of the notes we took over. Um, it'll be sort of a weekly thing because I'm always watching Tennessee. But they played Georgia last Saturday, and for a half, it looked like they had the magic. You know, they went into the half with the lead and was playing well, and then man, things just fell apart in that second half for them. And they got drubbed, which I wouldn't expect to beat Georgia because they've probably got one of the best defenses, if not the best in the country. We just could not do anything with the two outside linebackers, Monty Rice and Azaz Alajari. Combined, they had 13 tackles, 4 for a loss, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 recoveries. They returned 1 for a touchdown. We just had no answer for that pressure off the edge from those guys, and that was the difference in the game because they just took it over. And then Henry To'oto'o, he was the lone bright spot for Tennessee, seemed like. He had 11 tackles, 2 for a loss, and Georgia just absolutely routed us in the second half. So that defense looks good with Richard LeCounte and Eric Stokes back there, and that defensive front, man, that's probably the best in the country.
Yeah, Georgia's got a pretty good defense.
Watched. Oh yeah, that front line is something else, dude. It is. It's probably the best you're going to see. It may be right there with Clemson's front line. It really may, because I'm telling you, they're no joke.
Yep, no, they're not.
And then I watched Clemson and Miami, which was Clemson handled them pretty easily. I was surprised to see Balin Spector, the linebacker for Clemson. He did really well. 5 tackles, 2.5 for a loss, 1.5 sacks. He was all over the field making plays. Of course, their front four, their defensive line did well, but he was the standout, looked like. And then for one that stood out for Miami was their safety, Bubba Bolden. 10 tackles, 8 solos, 1 forced fumble. If it hadn't been for him, I would have hated to seen how bad that game really could have got because he seemed to be everywhere and he seemed to save a few plays. So it was I expected better out of Miami, and they kind of, I guess like Tennessee did, they kind of laid an egg. Just did not look like they were in sync, didn't get anything going till very late. And by that point, it was just the game was over. So, and then my third one was Coastal Carolina versus number 21 Louisiana. Carolina's, they remain undefeated. They beat Louisiana, so I expect them to jump into the top 25 this week with that win. 2 names that stood out to me was Coastal Carolina's defensive tackle C.J. Brewer. 7 tackles, 4 solo, and he probably could have had a whole lot more than that. He was plugging running lanes all night, getting pressures, really made it hard on Louisiana to run their offense. He just seemed to be everywhere. And you usually don't see defensive tackles do that a whole lot, but man, he was something else to watch. And then on the other side for Louisiana, and I was really impressed with him too, was their linebacker, Jalen Johnson. He was everywhere too. 8 tackles, had 1 for a loss. It was a close game, 30-27, I believe that game was. So it's not like it was a blowout by any means, but I always kind of like to watch these games like this because there's always some smaller school stars that stand out that you don't hear a whole lot about. We always talk about the Clemsons and Georgias and stuff like that, Alabama. So I kind of like to look at these smaller schools and see some of these names, kind of like Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois last year, because there's always somebody that comes through. So did you get to watch any of those games?
Yeah, I watched the Georgia and Tennessee game a little bit. Pretty much the same guys that I had really kept my eye on. I've also watched a little bit of Clemson and Miami. A little bit disappointed in Miami, and I mean it is Clemson, and Clemson's good. I've obviously seen what Trevor Lawrence and them did today. Put up a 70 burger, but Clemson is just they're It's Clemson. If they have to be, they have to be the favorite to win this. I mean, but I figured Miami put up a little bit more of a fight. I mean, like I said, but
I did too. They just didn't seem in sync to me. They didn't seem to have everything together. They kind of picked it up a little bit there towards the end, but it was just too far gone by that point, I think.
Yep. And then, well, obviously, I watched LSU and Missouri just because I had to watch the two middle linebackers that they're on the top of my board. Jabril Cox from LSU and Nick Bolton from Missouri. Jabril Cox at 8 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, so another solid game. Nick Bolton ended the game with 11 tackles and 3 pass deflections. So getting his mitts on the ball, getting up there and bringing his draft stock up. I watched Pittsburgh and Boston College. Got to keep an eye out. Patrick Jones had 3 sacks in that game. As of last week, that put him first in the country in sacks. So he had 4 tackles along with that. And then BC linebacker Isaiah McDuffie. He made a name for himself too. He finished the game with 11 tackles, 7 solo, and 1 quarterback hurry. And right now, well, as of last week, he was 3rd in the country in tackles.
Yeah, I really like McDuffie. A couple of years ago, he was, as a sophomore, I think it was, he was really coming into his own. And then last year, they expected him to be that superstar linebacker for him, and he got hurt. And that really killed him. And I think the country, everybody's sleeping on him because he was hurt and missed so much time. I mean, he finally made it back towards the end of the season, but man, he's a legit linebacker for them, and he's gonna go high, I think, in the draft if he continues this.
Yep, I agree. Another game, I did keep an eye on Notre Dame and Florida State. I figured that game went as it was going to. I was hoping Florida State would pull some magic out a week early, but that's all right. They're doing it this week. Kyle Hamilton for Notre Dame safety. He had 8 tackles and a quarterback hurry. He's one of he's one of them tall safeties. He was like 6'4", 6'5", somewhere around there. So he's tall. He could make that transition to corner, but he might stay at safety. I mean, he might be one of those guys that plays both positions because he can. Just because he's tall, he can still run the field.
He's so good.
He is, and I'm, how he is with his size, and he could, how he is nimble doing safety. I think he could definitely stay there. He can play anywhere. And then Asante Samuel Jr. I was keeping an eye on him. He had 4 tackles on a pass deflection. So just doing his Asante Samuel things.
Yeah. Kind of interesting. You mentioned Patrick Jones for Pittsburgh. He was in my Sackmasters article that just came out this week. He was one that I mentioned. And then again, McDuffie too. I mentioned him in my Tackle Machines article. So nice to see that. I find it very interesting that different people come up with some of the same names, without, me and you didn't even talk about this, but I had him in my articles, and then here you are, you're kind of confirming what I've got with his performances. So I like to see that. So
I think, like Patrick Jones, I think he's could be one of the top edge players off the board this upcoming draft. The way he's gone this year, I think he had I don't think he had a sack today, but I think he did have another 5 tackles and a tackle for loss today against Miami. So he's certainly making a name for himself, boosting up his draft stock.
Yeah, he's definitely shooting up my draft board because I didn't have him in my top 100 last year. And I think with this offset schedule, that's the one thing I do like about these schedules with these conferences starting at different times. I'm kind of getting to see more of different teams. So it kind of helped. And he was one because, the ACC started early, with the SEC, I kind of got to watch more of their games, and he's definitely flying up my draft board right now.
Yeah, I've watched more Pittsburgh games this year than I think I have in my entire life.
Yes.
But like I said, I do like watching these games where the Pittsburgh and the Boston College and
right,
Coastal Carolina and Louisiana.
and they're good games too. I mean,
oh hell yeah!
I mean, a lot of people think, well, it's Coastal Carolina and Louisiana. How good can it be? Well, there's, maybe it's not SEC talent, but they go out there and they perform just as good.
Yep.
And they have those big games, and there's, like I said with Jeremy Chin, there's always somebody that comes out of nowhere, and I just enjoy watching good football. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like even watching, I watched a little bit of the Clemson game. I think I watched till halftime. Obviously, it was like 52-0, 52-7 at halftime, and
right.
It's still fun to watch them and watch what they do. When they bring in the second string or whatever to see what those guys can do. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was fixing to say. Even though it's blowout and you think, oh, it's done or whatever, these freshmen, true freshmen, sophomores even, and sometimes even juniors, because the team's so loaded, you're finally getting to see them in action, and you can kind of build, or at least I do, I kind of start building a database. Maybe they only played in garbage time of the fourth quarter, but you can see as the years go on and the games go on, you can kind of see where they're improving or where they're not improving. So, yeah, I usually watch all these games right to the end, even if they are blowouts. So.
Yep. I don't know. Do you got some games for today that you kept an eye on?
Yeah, actually I did. And you kind of said it with Pittsburgh. You've watched more Pittsburgh than you know what to do with this year. Well, it's been Duke for me because I've been watching our boy Chris Rumpf, who everybody likes. And surprisingly enough, I got turned on to his bookend teammate, Victor Dimakuje, and most of y'all heard me. And it was interesting. They were both kind of held in check in the first half of this game today. And then in the second half, they just both kind of seemed to turn it on, and here they came, and they were getting pressures. Duke's, their record is so misleading because Chase Bryce has just been – he's been a turnover machine. I don't know what it seems like he's getting 3 and 4 interceptions a week, and it just makes it so hard on that defense. But yeah, I kind of watched him, and they got it going. I was kind of surprised, I was like, wow, the first half they've been quiet. There's not been a whole lot going on, and they turned it around, even though they did lose. And NC State looks for real.
NC State looks good.
I think they're 4-1 now with today's win.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a chance, a couple players I would suggest you look at is their linebacker, Isaiah Moore. He was all over the place today, making tackles. He was just everywhere, really. I mean, it seemed like every time I turned around, he was making a big play, and I was like, wow. Block punts, Levi Jones was another one. He blocked a punt today. Then he had a huge, excellent read and hit on the quarterback, on a 4th and 1 goal line stand that stopped the play. So, yeah, I like to look at those guys. And then I watched Kentucky and Tennessee. I really don't want to even talk about that. I don't even know what's going on. We did get a look at Harrison Bailey, though. I know a lot of people around here, they're clamoring for that. And I just don't know what Tennessee does from here. I don't think Guaranton knows the answer. I don't think he's ever really been the answer. I hate to say it, but it's almost like I almost feel like if you're going to lose these games to Kentucky, it's one thing to lose to Georgia, but to lose to Kentucky, I think you've just got to kind of maybe bite the bullet and say, hey, this is what we got to do. But who knows? It's not going to get easier next week because we got Alabama. So, yeah, it's not good.
How did Harrison Bailey do? I didn't get a chance to see.
He come in the 4th, did okay. He actually threw his first pass was actually a completion way down the field, and it was spot on. I mean, it was a nice catch by the receiver. He got his foot down, but man, it was very pleasant to see. So apparently they had a Sunday scrimmage where they got all the young guys in, and he took every snap at quarterback.
Okay,
which was interesting. So I guess Pruitt, he had when asked about it, he said he found a lot of kids they can play. The Weidman kid was the receiver today. I think he's going to be big for us. Toa, I mean, it's a given every week. He's going to make your tackles. I think we're a little weak in the secondary, but we got some young kids. So, I mean, it was disappointing today. It really was. It just,
yeah.
I expected so much more, but yeah. And then I've got a few games I've got recorded, so I've got to get into that probably late tonight. I'll probably sit up and watch some of these.
Nice.
I kind of flip back and forth, watch Memphis pull out a win. UCF missed that last second field goal to lose that. So,
well, Florida State or North Carolina is coming back on Florida State. Looks
yeah,
like.
I'm sitting here watching it. I'm surprised they're letting them back in it. Hopefully, it won't be an epic fail by Florida State.
It wouldn't surprise me if it is.
Well, they've got a quarter to go, so we'll see.
Yeah, so I watched one of my favorite games to watch today was South Carolina and Auburn. I don't think – I mean, Auburn should already have 3 losses, but that's just me. Right. They should have lost to Arkansas last week, but nonetheless, cornerback J.C. Horn from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He was targeted 8 times. He only allowed 2 catches, 5 forced incompletions, and he had 2 interceptions. So J.C. Horn is boosting up his draft stock too. He's already one of the top corners anyway, but he's just boosting it up. So, and then Auburn linebackers, Zacoby McClain. He finished the game with 13 tackles, 9 solo, and a sack for the Tigers.
I haven't watched that game yet. Really like him. Did you get to see Kenny Britt today for Auburn?
I did not. I didn't. Was one of the guys that I'm going to go back and rewatch probably that one again because there was a couple of South Carolina guys I wanted to watch too. Pickens, I think, was one of them. So I like to go back and watch that one again. But like I said earlier, I watched Pittsburgh. Zoom in and out of Pittsburgh and Miami. The 2 edge rushers, Patrick Jones and for Pittsburgh and Quincy Roche for Miami. Quincy Roche had 7 tackles, 4 solo, 4 tackles for a loss, and half a sack. So again, he's going to be one of the top edge guys taken too. Coming from.
Wish they had Rousseau there.
Oh, I know, right? I'm going to say that every week.
Yeah,
I wish they had him back, and that defensive line for Miami would be so much better.
Yeah.
And then Patrick Jones, he had another 5 tackles, 1 solo, and 1.5 tackles for loss. So
awesome.
Another solid game for Jones. No sacks, but that's all right. And then Wake Forest and Virginia. Carlos Basham, edge rusher for Wake Forest. 6 tackles, 4 solo, and a sack. Another sack for him.
Boogie Basham is how I like to
Boogie Basham. Yep. And like I said, he's really boosted his draft stocks from last year too.
I see a lot of similarities for me and you. We're watching different games, but just how good is the ACC with some of these, as Dan likes to call them, edge rushers to pick at me. But, I mean, seriously, you got Carlos Basham at Wake Forest. You've got Chris Rumpf and Victor Dumakije at Duke. You got Roche at Miami. You've got the guys in
you got Rousseau too. I mean, you can't forget him.
Well, yeah, Rousseau too. Then you got the Clemson crew. I mean, they're
Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, the ACC at that position is probably the best in the country, maybe even better than that. The SEC, I mean,
could be.
They're stacked. I mean, they got some. Maybe not have the single best player, maybe. But man, they're so loaded at that position. I think that's neat to see.
Yeah, on not just a few teams. It's quite a few teams that are pretty loaded with edge rushers. And could be another edge rusher heavy draft again.
Yeah, I think so. I'm curious to see. I'm going to be curious to see with this eligibility waiver period. Where no one's losing a year or whatever. I'm interested to see. I expect the top names like Roche, Rousseau, those guys, Basham. You're almost expected to see them leave and go pro. but I'm kind of curious to see if any of these other ones will go or if they will kind of stick around.
Yeah.
Because of that, I mean, it'll be interesting to say the least. That's what I'm looking at right there.
Yeah, and I know they got to, declare sooner than
Right.
the middle of the year, but who will stay? Will these guys just take advantage of these other top guys and just, if they're having good years? So, I mean, why stay if you're getting a second round draft grade,
Oh yeah.
just do it, just go, so it'll be interesting to see. You're right. So see what happens come February-ish.
Do you think we'll see any big names decide to stay? Like, for example, Basham, for instance, he's, all likelihood he's probably done at Wake Forest, can enter the draft, be a high pick. Do you see any names like him that would say, you know what, I'm going to stick around another year because it is so deep of a draft at that position? Or do you think we'll see something like that? Or
I could actually see like a Basham staying, because I think he is a redshirt sophomore. I think I'd have to look.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
I don't know. A lot of it will depend on. I don't know. It's hit or miss. I want to say. I mean, if they have a good year, I think they'll take advantage of it and go. Unless you do see an influx of a lot of the one position, like edge rushers, then I could see it.
I think if you're this draft committee that gives out grades, I mean, we kind of see it every year. If I'm a player and if they don't come back to me with a first or second round grade, I don't know that I'm not considering staying.
Yeah.
I mean, and that goes for any year. I mean, I know some of these kids, I get it. You got a chance to better yourself, your family. A lot of them come from nothing. It's hard to pass that up. But
it is.
And then you got the injury risk. Well, if I stay and get hurt, I lose everything potentially, or could, or hurt what I could get. But in some of these, I just think sometimes they're better served if you're not a grade round 1 or round 2 pick, then I kind of think you owe it to yourself to stay, because you're looking, that's 64 picks.
Yep.
So I kind of look at it, if you're not in the top 75, then you kind of, I think you got to stay. You come back, you build your brand, you build your stock up a little bit. Because I think a lot of times some of these kids, I say kids because they're so much younger than me, these young men, they jump to the NFL and maybe they're not quite ready. Maybe they're seeing those dollar signs or whatever. And I think sometimes they get lost in the shuffle. If they would just come back for a year, hone their craft a little bit, get a little more talented, maybe they go from a top 100 guy, they jump into the top 50, which is a whole lot better for them, in my opinion.
Yep, yeah, definitely. And to correct myself, Carlos Basham is a senior this year.
I thought he was. I was
so, like, yeah, and I had to look it up because I was second guessing. Yes, Carlos Basham is a senior this year, so he will not be returning to school next year. And I think Patrick Jones is a senior. Quincy Roche is a senior. So there's already a lot of, and then we already know Rousseau's going to the draft. So, I mean, there's 4 edge rushers right there that will be in this upcoming draft. And then one other guy that I watched was Zane Zanzidir.
Oh my gosh, I love that kid
from Virginia.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I know. I saw him.
Is he not just a complete throwback to the old days of the way you play? Oh my gosh.
He is, and he finished with 8 tackles, 3 solo. So yeah, he's one of those guys that you watch and you're like, all right, I like this dude.
I can't remember which game it was. Florida or maybe Liberty from last year. I think I've watched a couple others. I'd have to check my notes. But, man, if you give him a free shot on you and he gets you lined up, you're hurting. You're hurting.
Yeah, you might
You better have that chin strap buckled up because he is coming. I'm telling you. Love him. Love the way he plays.
Yeah, I agree. And like I can't remember what I was reading, but you're the one that turned me on to him. So I was like, all right.
Well, it was funny because I got turned on to him watching their two. Well, it's funny how this, I call it scouting or grading, or film watching. I was watching Noah Taylor, the outside linebacker for them. And then I noticed on the opposite end was Snowden on the other side. And I think Zandier was out that game. And then I watched a couple other games because I was wanting to watch those two. So I went back and watched, and I kept seeing this Zandier kid come through there. And he was just lighting people up. I was like, well, where the heck's this kid been, And I was like, man, he's something else. He is a definite throwback, and he will hit you with a ton of bricks, I'm telling you.
Yep. Yeah, he's a senior too, so he'll be in this upcoming draft too. So it'll be this draft is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and I feel like we say that every year, kind of. I mean,
I don't know. These past 2-3 years have seemed a lot more. Maybe it's just because I'm getting more into, the Devi IDP stuff than I had in the past, and I'm paying attention a lot more to them. But I don't know, just from what I've seen in the past 2-3 years, it seems like the IDP side is just been really good.
It has,
which is good to see.
Yeah, I love it. And I was actually thinking about this today when I was going through some of my leagues. Some of these leagues, I've got some rough teams where I've took over, and it's just taking me some time to get them turned around. Mm-hmm. And some of them are bad records, so I'm kind of already weighing my options. Here we are, week 6. Am I a contender or pretender? And I'm kind of moving some pieces, and I was surprised that I started going through the waiver wire to see who is available. And there's so many rookies from last year's class that's out there. For example, like an Ashton Davis or, oh my gosh, my brains just went completely dead. He played for Virginia last year, their defensive back. Oh my gosh.
I think we talked about, I can't think of his name either.
Yeah, my brain just went completely dead. But I was going through this list and I'm seeing all these players, Alton Robinson was another one that I've seen in a lot of leagues. He's playing so good for Seattle right now. And I'm like, why are these guys not on taxi squad somewhere? So I'm picking these guys up. Okay. And hopefully these are good moves for me going forward in the future. Because, they're not costing me nothing. I can stash them on my taxi squads. And even some of them I've been able to put on the injury list because they're out, like Ashton Davis. So it's like I'm getting even extra players. So I'm with you. I think maybe because I'm digging more into it, I'm seeing more players than just the big names. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we focus on the big names and we kind of overlook everything else. So
yeah, people like Curtis Weaver, Yes.
Oh, I got him everywhere.
He's one of those guys that he got released by Miami for whatever reason. I don't know why. But then Cleveland picked him up and they put him immediately on IR, and I'm like, I'll take him and stash him there. Why not?
And another one that hit me, and I was a big fan of his coming out of USC, was Porter Gustin, linebacker for them. He's kind of a downhill throwback tap linebacker, kind of like Zandier in a way. He just, for whatever reason, he had some injuries in college, so I think that kind of hurt him. I don't even know that he got drafted, and if he did, I think he got cut. I'd have to go back and look. But he's in Cleveland now and doing some situational stuff for them. I think he already has a sack this year. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take a flyer on him.
Yep.
Olivier Vernon's not getting any younger. you got Myles Garrett on the other side. So if he does get in there and does make noise, they're still going to focus on Garrett. So he's going to be freed up in some one-on-one situations. So I've been able to pick him up in a few leagues. I see some of the same things with offense too. It's almost like we draft these because they're the hot name and it's draft season. And then once the season starts, everybody just kind of, if they don't produce right away, they kind of forget them and drop them. I'm like, and Gustin's been out for a couple of years, and now he's starting to do a little something. So I think sometimes we got to pump the brakes and be patient.
Yep, I agree. So, I mean, that's all I had for games watching. I really haven't wrote much down yet for Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, and me too. We've kind of got off schedule on what night we want to record, so maybe me and you will get together and set up a certain night. I'm good with Saturday nights. There's a lot of games I've watched that I've recorded because I've got this TiVo thing going like crazy over here. So
getting your money's worth off of it.
I do. Saturdays and Sundays are my thing. I usually watch football nonstop. So
yep, that's all I've done today. So it's good to see. But
if you're listening, we didn't get no listener questions this week, so we're always glad to answer and help out. Any question, roster questions, hit us up. We're more than happy to help out. Like I said, I did the Sack Masters and the tackle machines for this past week. I've got an air defense one that should come out probably next week. I may have to adjust it a little bit since I was late getting it out, but I'll add this week into it. So I've got that going on. I've got my top 100 IDP Devy over at IDP guys. I'm constantly, especially on Saturdays, I'm moving players up and down, and like I said, I can't watch everybody, so I'm adding them as I do. So if you know somebody that we need to watch, let me know, and I'll go back and look. But yeah, I've got that going on. Eric, are you working on anything Devy right now, IDP wise?
I'm still working on my little Devy project. It's taking me a little longer than I had anticipated, but
you're killing me because I'm dying to see this, whatever it is. You've mentioned it for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, it's just with finally on vacation. I'm on vacation for work, so I got a little bit more done now, more so. So
yeah, me and Dan kind of mentioned work's gotten in the way. So I know Dan's kind of in the background. He's if you didn't catch us on IDP Nation, he's kind of taking a break. He needs to reset and rewind. He's been working really hard with his virtual schooling and all that, and I get it. We were supposed to record earlier this week, and I got so screwed with work, man. I was so furious. But
I don't know how you guys do like 4 podcasts a week.
Oh my God, it's killing me.
You guys are.
I don't know what to do. I'm just like, we got IDP Nation, and then we've got we do a Patreon, and then we come do the Dig podcast, and then we've got the IDP Lounge, and somehow I've been doing the Sunday morning start sit with that. I'm just like, damn, I don't never get to sleep.
Are you doing that tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I will be there tomorrow morning.
Nice.
So yeah, check us out, and we'll answer all your questions. But I'm with you. That's all I've got for now, and if you don't have anything else, if you want to promote some of your stuff, go right ahead.
Yeah, you can find me over at do my regular IDP stuff over at Dynasty Nerds. I do a waiver wire article every week, so I'll have that out, and then hopefully I can get a little bit more done on that little Devy IDP project that I'm working on. So other than that, that's really about it right now. So that's all I got.
Good Lord, Jalen Waddle.
I know.
Oh my God. Woo.
Yeah, Alabama's coming out now, so
flexing those muscles.
Yep.
So you can find me at IDP Guys. That's where I do all my writings and rankings. I'm usually on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, everywhere else. Podcasting. So anytime you need to reach out to us, but let us know, and we'll me and Eric will try to get together and get a better set schedule on what nights we're going to record here. So stay tuned and get those questions into us. And if that's all, good night to everyone. Good luck. Hopefully your team win. Hopefully they didn't crap the bed like Tennessee did today. So
And they're up by 10 with 10 minutes left. So and they're driving. So let's hope Florida State can hold on to it and have another big upset.
yeah, it looks
that number 5 ranking is kind of wasn't Florida no, they're number 4 when they lost last week, but
yeah.
Hopefully they can hold on to it. So
yeah. Don't know that Carolina's a top 5 team. I was talking to Dan about this earlier. I think they're more of a top
15, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking more 15. I don't know what to think about Hal. I know we're IDP related here, but are you a big Hal fan, or do you think he's kind of overrated? Or
I don't know. I think he has the potential, and he's only a sophomore. So I mean, from what he did as a freshman,
right?
I think it's he's certainly maturing. I still up in the air with him yet.
Yeah,
I think he has the potential.
He shows flashes of being great, though. He really does.
He does. I mean, he's better than Trubisky. I'll tell you that.
Oh gosh, yeah, he's way ahead of him. Oh gosh,
I know. I just had to compare the two North Carolina quarterbacks, but
wow.
I think he has the potential. Yeah, and I think another year under his belt, another maybe year or 2 under his belt, I think he can become something pretty special there. Not no Trevor Lawrence like, but
yeah,
he can still be pretty good.
I think his overall game is better than what Trubisky's is.
Oh yeah,
I know Trubisky was known as not known as a running quarterback, but mobile. I've seen some of that from Hal, but I just think his overall game, his mental awareness, his football IQ, all that. I just think he's a better quarterback overall, even at this young of an age. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking he's going to be special. I would like to see him kind of stick around in Carolina.
Yep.
And just because I think Mac Brown would be really, really good for him if he could stay around and hone his craft. He could be something special in a couple of years.
Yep, he's got at least one more year, so we'll see what he can do and up his game a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah. Well, Eric, if you don't have anything else, I think I am done. I am itching to watch this Alabama-Georgia game. I'm got my notepads and my pens and everything else ready to go here. I can't wait. So
all right. You guys have a good night. I'll talk to you next week, hopefully.
I would say go Vols, but I'm just not going to do it right now because I'm kind of depressed about that. So, but anyway, good night, guys, and we will catch you next week.
See you guys.